Hi, my name is Jane Powell. Welcome to Community Connections, a program about community involvement brought to you by the Greater Kanawha Valley Foundation. The Foundation is a community trust dedicated to the community. And today, our guests are leaders of the Foundation. I'm very pleased to introduce Becky Ceperley, President and CEO, and Nelle Chilton, Chair of the Board of the Greater Kanawha Valley Foundation. Welcome.
Well, thank you. It's great to be here, Jane.
Thanks. So, the Foundation was established in 1962. So at about 52 years old, there are some very exciting things happening this year and next year. I thought maybe we could talk about that today.
That'd be fantastic. And you're right. We are 52 years old.
52 years old. So, do you want to break the news, Becky? Tell us what's happening.
Well, absolutely. You're right. We're 52. We have been around this community giving grants for the past 52 years. And the Board of Trustees has decided that we need to shift from that giving of the grants to actually making investments in the community. And they've undertaken a process to create a new mission, a new vision, three new goals, values that the Foundation will use as it transfers from this grants-oriented process to an investment process. And the difference there, Jane, is that with grants, we waited and let people come to us, filled out an application, very reactive, looked at their goals, assessed whether or not they could carry out those goals, and if we thought they could, we give them the money that they needed or part of the money that they needed to move forward. Right. Expecting that their goals would be met. The Foundation had no goals. We weren't actually investing in the community, we were just sort of giving away money. Well, now that the Foundation is so much more mature at 52, right. Won't say older, but more mature at 52, and has accumulated so much more wealth. When I came to the Foundation 15 years ago, we had $78 million. Now, 15 years later, we have $216 million. And throughout the whole process, we started with $45,000. I know that's a lot of numbers for folks, but we started with one fund, $45,000, 52 years ago. We're now at $216 million. And throughout that 52 years, we gave away $109 million. Well, now we decided, the board decided that we needed to have a bigger impact. We needed to be able to look at impact, decisions, changes that would occur when we made these investments. Just like when you invest in buying a new car or buying a home, you expect something in return. Investing in the stock market, you hope you get that return.
That's right.
Sometimes you do, sometimes you don't, but we are approaching this the same way. We're looking at, there are goals that we have, and we're going to make an investment in the community, in the nonprofits and the programs that they carry out to achieve those goals, and we'll expect some rate of return, if you will, on those investments.
Because at 52 years old, being established and growing in assets comes a sense of responsibility. So this is very appropriate that the Foundation would be making this transition into this.
Absolutely. If we weren't, I think it would be a shame to continue to do it the way we needed to do it in the beginning. But with an organization that is this mature, that does have this much resources, or this amount of resources, not only money, but other types of resources that we can give, collaborative resources, partnership resources, for us not to step up and be more impactful in the community.
Right.
And along with that, because we are now engaging on making our grant making differently, we also changed our mission and our vision statement. And this was a really interesting process. The board was, I think, fully engaged. We went through, had some retreats, and so we've changed those statements to more accurately reflect what we're doing as a foundation today.
Okay, so a new vision and a new mission statement. That's right. That's great. Would you like to unveil those?
Sure. Our new vision is that we envision a forward-thinking and closely connected community that fearlessly works together to promote prosperity of all. And this is, I think, pretty direct in terms of saying not in a general way, but even though it's a fairly general goal, it's very specific in terms of what we hope our community will look like when we're through, whatever time that might be.
I love fearlessly working together.
Yes, and that was very important to the board.
Yes, and there's an mission statement also.
And there is, and that is that the Greater Kanawha Valley Foundation makes thoughtful and proactive investments that grow and multiply forms of wealth necessary for our community to thrive. These forms of wealth include the individual, intellectual, social, political, natural, built, and financial assets within our community. This also is a very big change. I think as a foundation, we've always indirectly affected these various forms of wealth. But now we're actually stating it, and we're measuring it, and we're holding our feet to the fire that we actually can see what we're doing. For me, this is a really important change in that when you begin to be specific about what you're doing, when you begin to name it, I think you have a much better chance of knowing the outcomes.
Yes, and Becky, now in the mission statement and in the vision statement mentions the 7 forms of wealth. That was a key factor through the strategic process and everything that went into creating this. Is that right?
That's correct. And what we have found is that a community, in order to thrive, needs these 7 forms of wealth. If it's going to be the community where people want to live, work, and play, then it needs these 7 forms of wealth. The 3 of them are absolutely critical. That's the individual wealth. We need people who are healthy and capable and able and educated to the extent that they can be whatever it is that they aspire to be. We need intellectual capital. And by that I don't mean just smart people. I mean a creativity, an innovation among the community. People are on the cutting edge, if you will, and have the ability to think and be able to reinvent themselves when they need to. And the third one is social, the social capital, having the relationship and the trust among people to be able to work together and work through some very hard social issues. So those are the 3 primary, but without those, you probably aren't going to get the other 4 either. And of course, with BUILT, we're talking about infrastructure. With financial, our community foundation is perfect for that. We're not just talking about income for people. We're talking about resources that are staying in the community. And of course, that's what this community foundation is all about, creating financial wealth for this community to help solve whatever social issues are for the future. And of course, the natural is exactly what it sounds like. Water, air, all of those kinds of things that a community will need in order to build itself. So those are the 7 forms, and we are the first. This was a Ford Foundation concept, and we are the first foundation in this country to take this concept and totally work it, as Nell mentioned, throughout our vision and our mission. So this is a big change.
It is a big change, and I know it didn't happen overnight. Do you want to tell us just a little bit about the process to get here?
Sure, just quickly. I think it's probably been, gee, what now, 18 months or more?
Or 2 years.
Or 2 years, well, whichever's longer.
Right.
And the board took, I commend them for them, because a lot of boards won't do this. Nell won't brag on herself, so I'll brag on her and her colleagues. They took days, 2 or 3 days over a course of a couple of years, and just dedicated themselves to this full time, and not to mention the regular board meetings and everything else that they do as their responsibilities as trustees for the foundation, and looked at a whole host, I mean, you wouldn't believe it, you know, a stack that thick of data about the health of our community and our individuals, about the education system, about early childhood, about recreation, about land use, about economic development. And they took all this data and looked at what it meant for our community and where they thought that the foundation, given what it has to offer, could make an impact. So it has been not something that was done, oh, isn't this cute, let's try this.
Right.
This has been a very thoughtful, deliberate process.
That involved a lot of people.
Oh, absolutely. We held community meetings with our donors, with our grantees, with people in the community who had expertise in the areas of education and health and all of those things, and do that on a day-to-day basis and ask them, you know, what do you think? This is the data we have. Is this data correct? Is this what you see? Are there ways that we could improve? So yes,
And
very
from those
extensive.
conversations, you were able to find and identify root causes of that affect our community. And now you want to talk just a little bit about the root causes?
Sure. It's really interesting when you think about root causes, because a lot of the time we look at very dramatic symptoms, and we look to solve the symptom and not to really think about where we might have the most leverage. And the most leverage, if you're talking about change, is when you go back to the root causes.
I think we have a great visual that we can show on the screen that kind of makes it very easy to understand the root, actually the root causes, and then the problems tend to be the trunk and the leaves if we're speaking of a tree.
Right.
So when we talk about the root causes, can you tell me the 4 that we identified?
Sure. Lack of cohesion and trust within the community, lack of effective leadership at all levels, poor health of our population, underperforming education systems, and ill-prepared students. So if you really go back and look at it, those are at the bottom of just about every symptom that we have.
So as a foundation, we were able to take those root causes that we discovered and through the strategic plan come up with new goals. Becky, you want to tell us the goals that evolved out of these conversations and this 18-month to 24-month process?
Absolutely. And this is all a systems approach, as opposed to just giving a little money here and a little money there and looking at this good program and that good program. This is actually a system-wide approach with these root causes. And if you remember what Nell told you the root causes were, you'll see that the goals reflect those exactly. The first goal is that we are a community where students from early childhood to post-secondary build the skills, knowledge, and credentials to become productive and successful. So remember the underperforming education system and ill-prepared schools.
I like it.
There's the goal. We are a community that supports the healthy choice. Here again, poor health of the population, root cause, directly responds. The third goal is we are a community full of strong, innovative, and effective leaders. Again, goes right back to the lack of effective leadership at all levels. And we're a community full of strong, innovative, and effective leaders who work to create shared visions, cross-cultural relationships, and the capacity to create positive change. Again, you go back to root cause, lack of cohesion and trust in the community. So the board, again, was very deliberate through this process to match these root causes, which hopefully, well, we believe, not just hope, but we believe that if we're able to impact these root causes, then many of those symptoms will go away.
It is evident in talking with you, and thank you so much for joining us today, but in talking through this process and actually being part of this process, that it was extensive and deep, and I look forward to the future.
Well, thank you.
Thank you, Jane.
Thanks. This has been Community Connections. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you to our guest, Becky Ceperley, President and CEO of the Foundation, and Nelle Chilton, Chair of the Board of Trustees. Thanks so much. We hope to see you next time. Goodbye.